The Pan-African Youth Leadership Summit has been held in the diplomatic and political capital of Africa here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The summit has brought together close to 1,000 participants from various African countries. The summit has been conducted under the theme Unlocking the Power of Youth for Prosperous Africa. Well, my guest for today is a participant of this colorful summit, Rex Chapota from Malawi. Rex, very warm welcome to your first home, not second home, your first home, Ethiopia.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be in the home of origins.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Big welcome to Ethiopia News Agency as well. Can you give us a brief introduction of yourself first?
Thank you so much, Zalalam, and it's a big honor to be here in Addis Ababa, the diplomatic capital of Africa. As he has rightly said, my name is Rex Chapota. I am the Executive Director of the National Youth Council of Malawi, which is the apex body in Malawi responsible for issues of young people in our nation. Actually, this institution is created by the Act of Parliament because when our parliament sat in 1996, they decided to create this institution to organize and ensure that all issues surrounding young people are coordinated by one body, and this is the body which I humbly serve as its leader.
Apparently, you came to Ethiopia to participate on the Pan-African Youth Leadership Summit, which has been conducted here in Addis Ababa at the Adwa Victory Memorial Museum. Let's start with your impression, Rex. What was the significance of the summit in further pushing African causes forward?
Actually, the summit at the Adwa Memorial Center has been a great one because even if you look at the theme itself, unlocking the potential of young people in Africa towards a prosperous Africa is an issue which is of serious importance because Africa has got over 70% of its people as young people. And we need to ensure that this demographic is unleashed at its maximum potential. So we're looking at leadership, and there are so many issues that came through around the topics of the conference. For example, issues surrounding youth economic empowerment, issues on youth leadership itself, issues concerning what kind of education system are we giving to our young people of Africa. So it's been a blast, if I would call it like that, because so many issues have come up and we see a rising of young people in Africa ready to change the trajectory of African development. And indeed, Africa is rising.
Africa is rising. Good. So, you know, Rex, as you rightly and eloquently explained, the future of Africa depends on its burgeoning youth population. No doubt about that.
Sure.
70% of the people of Africa are young. So the future of Africa depends on this segment of the society. You know, the thing is, we keep on saying, like, Africa is a huge continent. Africa is a continent of hope. Africa is rich in natural resources necessary to propel its economic growth and so on. But still, we are struggling to win poverty. What are really the setbacks in this regard?
War on poverty is the greatest war we need to fight in Africa. I would say that it's unfortunate that we're having civil wars in the continent, countries fighting against countries, instead of fighting poverty, because poverty is the greatest evil in the continent. And I would say one of the major challenges that beset Africa is basically because we have not been intentional as a continent to compete at the global scene with the kind of resources we have. Sometimes when we look at the way we do business in Africa, it's as if we are afraid, as if we do not know what we have. But Africa has all what it needs to be a giant in the global economic system. As you rightly said, we have got minerals. But who is benefiting from these minerals? That's a key question. And to me, we need to ensure that our political system is a system that helps us to be able to benefit from our mineral resources from our other natural resources, so that all these things spur economic growth for Africa. And another challenge is indeed also our education system. And that's another issue that came out very, very closely in the conference, during the summit. Why? Because the educational system of Africa is not responding to the aspirations of our own Agenda 2063 as a continent. Because in the Agenda 2063, the issue of industrial revolution, the issue of technological leap are critical matters. But is our education system responding to that? Those are the matters that make us as Africa still be, not going where we are supposed to go. But also I think the major issue is Africa needs to be looking at itself as one people. That's a major issue that came up also in the conference, in the spirit of Pan-Africanism. We need to open up our borders. We cannot be continuing to say, let's do it, and we're not doing it. Our borders need to be open to each other so that we can trade to each other more easily. Those are some of the things that the continent need to look at. And if we don't invest in the lives of our young people deliberately, then Africa won't rise. But I am very optimistic that based on this leadership summit, the young people of Africa are saying with a loud voice, time has come for Africa to fight poverty and end the war on poverty.
That is so powerful, Rex. African universities have been manufacturing enormous graduates, thousands and millions of graduates. But like you rightly said, there is a mismatch between the market and the university graduates. More than everything else, the future of Africa depends on its ability, its capacity to utilize its burgeoning youth population. But do you think, Rex, the young people of Africa are ready to confront the present and future challenges of Africa? Do you think we guys are ready?
Wow, it's a tough question. But I would say it that African young people are ready, but they are work in progress. Because we need to make sure that they don't only have got a voice, but they are empowered to even act on their voice. One of the issues that came out very clearly during this leadership summit is that we do not want our young people to have a seat on the table. We want our young people to design even the table itself and bring their own seats on the table, which means it's critical to equip our young people with leadership skills. One of the things that came out in the leadership summit is that our educational system is bringing in good graduates who have passed exams, but they cannot lead. So we need a holistic approach to education, which brings indeed brilliant minds in the continent, but also those brilliant minds have got the capacity to lead, take action on matters that before them. So the youth question in Africa is work in progress. But the young people are saying, we are ready, and we need to give them the necessary policy environment. We need to give them the necessary skills and competences, and also give them the necessary financing for them to be able to compete at the global scene. Time for Africa to watch things happen is gone. It has to be involved, and it's the young people who shall do that.
African users have expectation from leaders, from governments. The young people of Africa have been facing enormous challenges along the way in their efforts to be successful. So how African governments, how African regional and continental organizations should support African youth in their endeavor to become successful?
Actually, one of the things that came up also in the leadership summit is what we are calling the Adwa Victory Declaration. And part of the declaration, it's call for action to the member states of the continent. And one of the things that African young people are saying very loudly and clear is, we need a progressive policy environment where each member state ensures that young people are active in all processes of development. And this includes young people participating in the leadership question of Africa. It means young people participating in the economic question of Africa. It means young people participating all matters of development. So what we need member states is create room in your policies for young people to participate equally as also agents of development. Secondly, the young people of Africa are also saying to the member states, do not take us for granted. Because in most of the electoral processes, you talked about democracy, in most of the democratic experiences, young people are the greatest voters. But young people are saying, yes, as much as we vote you into power, also vote us into power. Young people want also to be in elected positions because the understanding is it's up until we see our young people in the House of Parliaments, in the councils, in the decentralized structures, then their issues will be taken seriously. Because you can't bring youth issues if you're not young yourself. So young people say, we want to be there. So those are some of the things member states ought to make sure it's happening. The right policy environment, the right democratic processes that value young people beyond being voters, but also as elected leaders in their countries. And as I said before, young people need to be given access to financing. You know, one of the things we've seen in this leadership summit is the startups. Lots of startups happening in Africa. But we know that 90% of startups fail. Why? Lack of financing. So young people are saying, give us financing so that our brilliant ideas can be taken to scale.
Rex Chapota from Malawi, thank you so much for sharing your brilliant and powerful insights and perspectives regarding topic of our discussion, African youth challenge and opportunities. Thank you very much and wishing you all the best in your future endeavor. I thank you very much and take care. Yeah?
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be in Addis Ababa and a pleasure to speak on behalf of the African young people. Africa ought to rise. It's now or never. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rex. Yes, with the consistent efforts of its sons and daughters, Africa will prosper. Africa will be a continent in which its children get proud of. Africa will be a continent where non-Africans choose to live in. Africa will definitely prosper. We have a dream, and we do have a means to realize the dream. That brings us to the end of our program for today. Many thanks for watching, and see you then.